Amani channel. This is webvideochefs.com, and in this recipe I'm going to share 5 tips that will help you shoot videos like a pro. So to produce a great video, you have to shoot great video. But how do you do that? You know, a lot of folks are using their cell phones, they're using their camcorders, they might even purchase a high-end camera. But if you don't have the basics down, if you don't understand the fundamentals of good videography techniques, you might not have so much success. All right, so in this recipe, I'm going to share 5 tips. All right, 5 simple things that you can do right now to start producing and shooting better video. All right, the first thing is plan. So if you're going to cook a great meal, right? If you want to cook a great gourmet meal for your family, or if you want to cook a great gourmet meal for your loved ones, what do you have to do? You have to plan. You have to know what ingredients you need. You have to plan in the kitchen, have all your utensils prepared. You have to know exactly what's going to go into that great meal. So, in the same thing for video production, you have to prepare for your shoot. You have to know what shots you're going to capture. You have to know what elements you're going to capture. And you have to plan accordingly. So, for this talking head vlog that I'm producing right now, I knew that I was just going to be sitting in my home studio. I knew that I just basically talked to the camera. I just needed a tripod, the camera, microphone, a couple lights. Basically that simple. If you're going to do something in the field, you have to be prepared for the elements. If you're going to have to do something different, you just have to know what shots you need to capture before you go and just start shooting. Because if you don't prepare and put your meal together in a thoughtful way, if you don't follow the recipe, you're not going to have the same success. All right. The next thing, you want to make sure you have all the equipment you need, especially a tripod. If you want to shoot great video like a professional, you know, if you look at any news conferences or any film crews, they always have their cameras mounted on a tripod, because the tripod will allow you to capture nice, steady, still shots. Now, what do you do if you don't have a tripod? Well, make sure you hold your camera as still as possible. Make sure you're not moving it around. Make sure you're really focusing and paying attention to your shot. Make sure that you're watching your camera through the viewfinder and not watching the action with your eyes, because if you're not focusing on the camera in the viewfinder, if you're just watching the action with your eyes, you're not paying attention to the camera, your shot may drift. You may not have the subject in frame like you'd want to have them. So always make sure you use a tripod, hold your shot still. And this is number 2, so we're still on number 2, okay? And make sure you're looking at the viewfinder. So just some things. All right, the next thing you want to do is framing, and it kind of piggybacks on the previous tip. So you want to make sure you're framing your shot accordingly. And professionals use what's called the rule of thirds. If you search for the rule of thirds online, you're going to see plenty of information on it. Basically, with the rule of thirds, you're dividing your screen into like a tic-tac-toe board, and you frame your shot accordingly depending upon how you want the shot composed. But if you put your subject in the upper third of the frame, usually you'll have great composition if you use those rule of thirds or place your subject somewhere on that grid. All right. The next thing you want to do is put some light on the subject. All right. So in this case, I'm just shooting in my home studio, but I have several lights set up. These are actually just Home Depot lights that I purchased. They weren't really expensive, but they work great for this studio situation. They're compact fluorescent lights, and so whenever you're shooting, especially indoors, you want to be conscious. You want to have some lights. I'll just give you an example here. I'll just turn this one off, just so you can see what it looks like. If I can hit the switch here. Alright, so I'm just turning off one of my lights, but if I were to turn the overhead light off, or this light or this over here, the shot would even look less appealing. So you want to put some light on the subject. If you're shooting outdoors, use the sun as a light source. So make sure your subject, the sun is facing your subject, or the sun is illuminating your subject. Make sure you're not shooting, creating a silhouette effect where you're creating a backlight situation. So just make sure you're using light to your advantage. The next tip is to shoot sequences. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's say you're shooting some action. You're shooting someone playing a sport, for example. So you want to shoot maybe a wide shot of the field, and then you want to shoot a medium shot of maybe a specific person, And then maybe even get a little more intimate and shoot some close-ups. So maybe shoot some close-ups of their feet as they're running along the field. Maybe shoot some close-ups of their face as they're concentrating on the action. Whatever the action is, you want to focus on a couple of key things, but shoot sequences. Shoot a wide shot, shoot a medium shot, and shoot a tight shot, and then you'll be in great shape, all right? So just to recap, the 5 things you need to know to do to shoot great video: you want to plan, you want to use a tripod or use equipment, hold your camera still, you want to frame, use the rule of thirds, you want to use light, and shoot sequences. Do those things and your video will look amazing. It will be a magnifique recipe. Amani channel, this is webvideochefs.com. If this was helpful, please like the video, subscribe to our channel or to our website. We have an e-newsletter you can sign up for. You'll get great tips delivered right to your inbox. If you have any questions, ask at webvideochefs.com and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.